Thursday. It is RCM. I'm your host, Justin Myers. Super producer Brenden is safely partitioned on the other side of the glass. Thanks for getting up early with us or staying up late. However, you are rolling on this particular Thursday. A lot of stuff to dive into on the big show today. And I'm not a businessy guy. You probably should know that because I just said businessy. I am not an economist. I don't pay attention to the Wall Street Journal. But this NBA TV deal seems like a pretty significant thing going on in not only the world of sports, but the world of sports business as TV is shifting. I was listening to Chad and Dwight talking about this yesterday. Brenden, you and I have talked about this a ton over the last couple of weeks, specifically talking about college football, but now talking about it with the NBA, is the fact that ESPN has always been in on live sports, but ABC and NBC, and if you throw Prime in there as a now live sports entity, it's the only thing that people are watching in the moment. Even me, the most Gen X-y of Gen X guys, I don't watch House of the Dragon right at Sunday at 6. Now, I did watch Game of Thrones 5 years ago. Is it 5 years ago? I think it was. 5 years ago, right when it came on, I would turn my TV on HBO. But I don't know of anybody, even all the way up to the elder Gen Xers, to the boomers who are like, hey, just like we did when I was a kid, it's Tuesday at 8:30. Growing Pains is on. Everybody shut up. Like, unless you're at a hotel room where you don't have a DVR. Isn't that the weirdest feeling in the world, by the way? When you get into a hotel room, you're like, what am I going to watch? Like, I don't have a guide. I don't have a DVR. I guess some of those TVs in hotels you can stream stuff on, but it's like, I can't really stream it. I guess I'll just watch Food Network for like the next 4 hours. Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives is on for like the next 4 hours. I guess I'll just watch that. But sports is the only thing that we are like, hey, Blazers, Warriors, games at 7. Be ready on the couch to watch the game. Or Oregon and Ohio State. That game kicks off at 3:30. Appointment television. Is this $76 billion more of a reflection of the way we are watching stuff on TV? Or do we maybe, because I try with the NBA, and I've kind of felt like over the past couple of years, the NBA's product, especially in the regular season, has declined a little bit. And the reason why I believe it's declined a little bit is because the best players in the league don't always want to play. Load management is a fairly significant problem, and you've seen that in what are quote-unquote ratings, right? The ratings are declining, but they just pocketed $76 billion. So were we all wrong? Are the numbers skewed? Is there an actual accurate way to measure what people watch anymore? I'm sure there's some AI program out there that has kind of figured something out, but if you watch it on streaming, if you watch it on DVR, if you just check in on your phone, like, apparently the NBA is doing just fine, because they got themselves $76 million. More on that and what it means in terms of NBA fans and the way, well, you better, if you don't have a Prime membership now, you better get one. And if you don't know how to log into ESPN Plus or Peacock, well, you better figure that out, because I think a good chunk of the NBA is going straight to the internet. More on that coming up later on in the big show. I did want to throw this out. So, quick little story about my morning. Brenden, you don't know this because I want to save this for the air, but we're gonna play a fun little game of what would you do. So most Fridays, which today is not Friday, most Fridays we have Fancy Coffee Friday here on the Big Show. I usually just run through. I pick up the coffees, get Brenden his usual order, go on about the day. Well, a little behind the scenes, Brenden did me a solid yesterday. Went above and beyond. I'm also going to be off for the next couple of days, so I was like, you know what? It's kind of my Friday. Brenden did me a solid. I'll pick up some coffees. Because, whether it's like, hey, gang, we got, like, it reminds me a little bit of on The Office Pretzel Day, right? In the grand scheme of things, sweet or savory soft pretzel costs you about $3 and just a little bit of energy. But if somebody were to bring a pretzel cart to the workplace and be like, hey, to thank you for your hard work, we have brought in pretzels for everyone today. You think, man, I am living like a king. It's just, whether it's bagels in the morning sometimes, whether it's pizza, like, hey, guys, we got pizza in the break room. Thanks for all your hard work this week. We got pizza in the break room. You could have chain pizza any time of the week fairly cheap, but when the boss brings it, so I figure, Brenden did me a solid yesterday. Not only am I going to get coffee, I'm going to get coffee from Brendan's favorite spot. So I went to the Windmill Place. I got you an incredibly sugar-filled, you are going to be bouncing off the walls all day, I have a feeling, an incredibly sugar-filled
good news with that too, Justin. Because today Wolcott's coming to fix our AC, so I need to be off the walls today. Yesterday was rough.
I bet it was. Maybe more on that in a bit. So I grabbed the coffee. So I got myself a big, giant iced coffee, and I got Brenden a big iced concoction. I think there's I think there's coffee in there. I'm not quite sure. There's a lot of caramel. There's a lot of vanilla. There's a lot of milk. But I think somewhere in the recesses of that coffee that I think there's a coffee in there.
Just the assumption, as you know what they say, Justin, assumptions are dangerous. And, when you text me, hey, I'm getting coffee, I was like, my man, kind of a thing. Yeah. And then I expect you to go the usual or something like that. And I was like, oh, he just kind of knows. He kind of goes to Starbucks. He knows what I like. And then, it was a very pleasant surprise this morning. You zagged when you normally zig,
because,
man.
Again, like I said, you did me a solid yesterday. I know the coffee place you prefer. So I was like, I'll get him a coffee. So that has neither here nor there about the story that I'm about to tell. So now I'm walking into the office, right? I got a backpack, and I have got 2 coffees. No carrier, just 2 coffees. To get into the office, we require a key card. Most of you have the same type of deal.
Not once, but 3 times.
3 key card swipes. So
we like our security here.
I appreciate it. I really do.
They keep us safe here, Justin.
I really do. I've been in some weird situations with some weird, like, not really for sports radio, but I've worked in radio stations where there's other entities there and, like, some
insurance dude could just walk in kind of a thing.
No, it's some people give political opinions on other shows, and they really tick people off. And,
Makes sense.
Some people get a little kooky and decide they want to confront that person.
The shoe fits.
So
makes sense.
So to get in, I've got a key card, right? And like Brenden just said, 3 key card, boom, once at the front door, once to get into the outer office, and once to get into the inner office. I keep my key card in my wallet. That way I don't lose it. I have had a history of losing key cards at previous radio stops in my career where HR has finally told me, Justin, you have, this is your last one. So I keep it in my wallet. Well, I can't, and there's no like place to set down drinks. So I've got 2 drinks. By the way, both of them very cold, which I appreciate, but you wouldn't think like 2 iced coffees would be an uncomfortable carry to the office. But they're pretty cold. They're getting a little chilly. My hands are getting a little numsy. You know what I mean? So I get in, and we have 3 elevators in the building, and we're on the 3rd floor. only one of which works at a time, I feel like. So I get in, and so I've got 2 coffees, one in each hand, and I have got my wallet kind of pinned with one of the other coffees so that I could beep, get in with the key card. And my hands are getting a little cold. And I'm like, all right, just breathe through it. You'll be there in no time. Get in. 98% of the time, nobody else is here at the building when I walk in. This one time, somebody on the second floor decided they were going to pop onto the elevator. And now I don't want to judge and think like, dude, it's one flight of stairs. But sure, you do you. So now I'm on the elevator, and this guy holds the thing, gets. So now we go to the second floor. Now here's where it gets dicey, Brenden. Here's where I want to know what you would do. I have got 2 coffees, my wallet, kind of all just. I'm out. We stop at the second floor. Bro gets off. Door doesn't close right away on the elevator, and I'm like, "What's that about?" Then the door kind of like closes and like catch like it like something is stopping it. Now nothing is in its track or in its way. Then I hear like a little tick 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 tick. Boy, I got off that elevator so fast. I have a weird fear of getting stuck in an elevator. And not only that, I've got 2 drinks. I can't really maneuver. So boom, had to hop off the elevator. Then had to, again, 1 drink in each hand. If you're watching on YouTube, you're kind of seeing it. If you're not on YouTube, I apologize. Theater of the mind. And now I got to not only get through 2 more key card swipes, but to get to the stairs, because I'm scared of this elevator at this point, much like the velociraptors in Jurassic Park, I got to figure out the door handles with 2 coffees. Now, luckily, I played Edward 40 Hands when I was in college, so I got some experience. But
fantastic scene of that movie.
But so now I got to open it up. So I got to open it up, get up the stairs, open up another one, key card. Needless to say, it was a harrowing journey to get us and our coffees into the building. But we are here. We are here. We are excited. We are pumped up. A lot of college football to talk about. A lot of NBA to talk about with this media rights deal. Team USA put it on Canada. So locked and loaded for a big Thursday show. But we have got the Pac-2 Media Day and some interesting odds on the college football playoff. That's coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, this is the can I be honest? This is the first I've ever heard of the football power index. It's the first I've ever heard of it. Welcome to Rip City Mornings, everybody.
Something I've been into for a couple years now.
Okay, well, I'm glad you seem to have an understanding of it. This is my nightmare, right? This is just there's some interesting numbers that I do want to talk about, but it's kind of my nightmare. And it's also the thing that I fear, which is we are just removing like the soul out of sports half the time, where it's just like, oh no, it's AI, statistics, running like all that stuff. And it started with the BCS and all the computer polls. And it's like, yeah, and I know it's anecdotal, but I've watched enough football in my life to know that you can't just run the numbers. That football is a game played by young men, grown men who are very emotional, very physical, and are beating the snot out of each other. And every once in a while, your precious numbers get a little skewed by human nature. Neither here nor there. Don't have time to do a TED Talk on that right now. But there is the thing. It's a football power index. Brenden has shared this with me. And according to the football power index, they have projections.
Which it's pretty legit because they simulate the upcoming college football season, Justin, 20,000 times.
That's insane.
So that's what computers and AI can do for us now.
So, according to the FPI, projected win-loss for the Oregon State Beavers, 7.9 to 4.1. So, essentially saying they're going to go 8-4 next year. That's on the FPI. They have
That's very fair.
That's still a really good season. More on that.
I think Beaver fans would be very happy with that.
More on that in a moment. They have a 0.9 chance to win out. That Oregon game on the schedule is a little rough.
It is. Outside of that, though.
That being said, I am fascinated to know when Civil War is going to be played in September. I have seen enough Civil War games in my life, Brennan. You've seen a handful of your own to know that it is truly a rivalry game where you throw out the records. I don't know if it's going to have that same kind of feel. And you might be like, Justin, look at the talent disparity. I have seen games, folks, I've seen them, where the talent disparity was as big, if not bigger, between Oregon and Oregon State, only to see upsets happen. Now, September in the sunshine, maybe there's something there as opposed to November in the gloomy gray raininess of what we have put this rivalry game into. But I'm curious to know if when they do kick it off in September, if there is going to be a rivalry aspect, which is there will be from one side, but with all the transfers and like Oregon's best player played for Washington last year, right?
I mean, it's a good question, and I think
do rivalries even have the juice anymore?
Yeah, and it's just you have to look at Oregon State in a context because it's so weird. Because to your point, Justin, if you were to ask me right now, I think Oregon State probably has a pretty rough Saturday, that 14th of September. But just with as I told you earlier, that might be the only game they're unfavored in on the schedule this year.
Very true.
So we'll see how it all breaks out, but that's the one where you circle and go, yep, they're going to be an underdog at home, but the rest, you're like, could be a toss-up.
Also, which is why I'm intrigued by these numbers, but I'm also, skeptical of these numbers because it's like, Brenden, you cover the team. You even said, I don't know how good they're going to be.
I don't.
There's so much turnover. It's like, oh, we've simulated the season. With who?
Who at quarterback?
Who's at quarterback in your simulation? How did you do it? But this is what I really want to get into. According to the FBI, to make the college football playoff, which is a different world now, 9.8% chance to make the college football playoff. And you might be thinking, Justin, that is nuts. A 10% chance for the Oregon State Beavers to make the college football playoff. How is that even possible? Well, what if they go 11-1? That one loss, let's say it's a single-digit loss to Oregon. There is some sort of rivalry aspect there. and they don't get blown out that day at Reser Stadium by the Ducks, and they go 11-1. Now, they are not eligible, same with Washington State, are not eligible for that automatic bid. They're going to have to be in the top 12. But I wonder if voting this year, if Oregon State or Washington State for that matter, because the Cougs have got Portland State. Sorry, Vikes, you're going to get beat. Then they got Texas Tech at home. Then they play Washington in Lumen Field, which I think the Cougs have a better chance to upset the Huskies than the Beavs have a chance to upset the Ducks.
This year,
This year, right now.
For sure.
And then you run into your Mountain West schedule with San Jose, Boise, Fresno, Hawaii. Like, if the Cougs or the Beavs get anywhere near 10 wins, I believe the voters, based off of, don't want to say sympathy, but the circumstance, I think will get a leg up. Being left behind by the power conferences, I think if Oregon State or Washington State is anywhere near 10, 11 wins, which isn't impossible, not likely, but isn't impossible, I think the voters and maybe even the committee members give them a leg up. Now, there's a lot of stars that have to align to get to this point, but you go, how do they have a 10% chance to make the college football playoff? Well, you're going to have to be 11-1 with a close loss to Oregon, or if you're Washington State, you're going to have to be 11-1 with a close loss to Washington. Washington State maybe has to be 12-0. But if you get there, it comes down to a committee. And it's going to be 11-1 former power conference team against what, a 10-2, 9-3, maybe not such a good resume ACC or Big 12 team. That's a battle you might win in the committee room. But speaking of the playoff, here's the question, Brenden, I have for you specifically because you speak for Beaver Nation on this show. I get accused multiple times of being an Oregon homer, which I am. And I'm sure you may hear it from your Beaver believers. Like, how do you even sit with that guy every day and his Oregon homerism? And Brenden goes, you don't even know. But on this show, I trust your opinion. I feel like between beaversedge.com and the work that you do, I believe that you have as good of a sense of where Oregon State and the fan base is as anybody. Here's my question to you. If I could give you a college football magic wand, and I truly don't mean this mean-spirited. If I could give you a college football magic wand for Oregon State in the next 10 years, would you rather be a part of the Mountain West?
Next how many years? Sorry?
Next 10 years.
Okay.
Be a part of the Mountain West, but dominate. Be the program of the group of six.
You talking like Boise State? Like
I'm talking dominating. I'm talking what Utah used to do. I'm talking about what TCU used to do. I'm talking about what Cincinnati used to do. You be a group of 5 or group of 6. I don't know how many groups are left with all the conference realignment, but you could be a group of 6 program. And let's just not even call it the Mountain West, right? Then maybe they'll bring in a handful of teams and recreate the Pac-12, but it's a group of 6, right? It's not what the Pac-12 was, but let's just say that Oregon State and Washington State has managed to piece together and recreate the Pac-12. Because you don't call it the Mountain West, because that has some negative connotation, I would imagine, with Oregon State and Washington State fans. But let's just call it the Pac-12. But it's Boise, it's San Jose, it's Colorado State, it's Air Force, and maybe swing in a couple of MAC schools. Like you could play a group of 6 conference and be a dominant team at that level, knowing that if you are the highest rated group of 6 team, which would have been Liberty this year, you would receive an automatic berth into the college football playoff, much like we see in college basketball, right? Would you rather do that for the next 10 years, or would you rather get, and let's take money out of it. It's hard to do, but let's take money out of it. Or if you're Oregon State, would you rather join the Big 12 and maybe once every 4 or 5 years have a run at the college football playoff? What do you think would be, because I know the hurt and the anger and the frustration that everybody else got to get a leg up in this conference when realignment happened and we got stuck in the gutter. But in the new world of the 12-team football playoff, would it be more beneficial to join a group of 6 team and dominate? Or would it be better to have those big-time matchups in a Big 12 or whatever the ACC leftovers are going to be week in and week out, but likely have that make college football playoff number probably more around 4 or 3%? Which do you think would be better?
I think that Beaver fans would want the security of a conference, and I still think that's, because everything that I've heard, Justin, Oregon State and Washington State have zero interest in joining the Mountain West. That's why the reverse merger never happened or won't happen, is like the Mountain West, they're like, yeah, come on, let's do it. And Oregon State and Washington State are like, yeah, no one in your conference can compete with what we're spending. I saw the...
Also, I believe the Mountain West deal, like the Beavs and the Cougs are making more money as their little hybrid, quasi, whatever they are.
Right, and just they spend more, right? Like it was something like, I think Oregon State has like a floor of like, $70 million they want to spend on athletics. Washington State, 60. Then a lot of these Mountain West teams are 30 and 40, right? And you might not think that's a lot of money.
That's a lot.
It is. And with that, I think Oregon State and Washington State are going to absolutely, leave no stone unturned trying to get into Big 12, ACC, whatever it is. If that doesn't come, Justin, maybe this quasi-Mountain West hybrid continues for more than just the 2 years it's slated for right now. But I still think if you were to give Beaver fans a choice, they want the security blanket of a conference.
Rather than maybe making the playoff.
I just
because I think we can both agree.
Sure.
Oregon State or Washington State at a high level has a far better chance of making the college football playoff, even a 12-team version, in a group of 6 place than they would in the Big 12.
Sure. I think that
maybe I'm underselling it.
No, I think you're on. I think the only thing is that Beaver fans' fear, and even my own fear, the longer they're not in a conference, the longer or the wider that financial gap gets.
Yeah.
Right? So say you get in the Big 12 in 2 years. Okay, well then you get Big 12 payouts and you look back and go, yeah, we had those couple years where we didn't get quite as much money, but not a big deal. Without an influx of private money coming in, I wonder how long it's sustainable for Oregon State to keep spending at that level. Just that you mentioned, you would need to be that dominating force in Group of 6.
Yeah.
So can they? Sure. I just don't know how tenable it is for a long period of time. Conference is safety.
Because I remember I've had not quite this exact discussion, but in the same spirit of it, I remember when I was in Eugene and Ernie Kent was the coach of the Oregon Ducks basketball team, and they would make a trip to the Elite Eight, and then they would make a trip to the NCAA tournament, and then they wouldn't be tournament ready for about 2 or 3 years. They'd be out of it, and then they would make another run, and then they were out of it. And I said, if you ask most college basketball fans, you would rather your team made the tournament every year than make an Elite Eight and then be absent for 2 or 3 years. And so that's where I just wonder. The regular season is going to take a hit in college football because of a 12-team playoff. The losses are not going to hit as hard. Now, maybe that will help my hairline and my cardiovascular system, knowing that if Oregon does lose to Ohio State at Autzen Stadium, or if they drop a game at Camp Randall, you're still going to have a chance to make the playoff. Currently, right now, according to the FPI, Oregon has a 76% chance to make the playoff. That's pretty good. Highest right now in the Big Ten, according to the FPI. Ohio State's at 67%. But the stakes aren't going to be quite as high. I wonder if we look at college basketball, make the tournament. Man, just make the tournament. Don't care what happens after that. Just punch your ticket to the big dance. I want Selection Sunday to happen. I want to see my team pop up on that screen, and I want to see the bracket where I can fill out with my team. If they make it to the Elite Eight, great. If they don't, it's over in 3 weeks. Do you know what I mean? So I wonder if getting into a major conference, but again, there's that big hiccup, which is the money. If the money wasn't what it is, which is like $70 million budget, athletic budget, who only knows what the football budget is? If the money wasn't there, then how do you dominate? I guess that's the other question. You're going to have a nice little buffer of like, we still have that power conference shine on us, right? It's that new car smell. It's like, or there are going to be teams that walk into research, they're like, this still smells like a Power 5 team, guys. Like, you're going to have that Power 5 smell for a little bit.
Like when Purdue comes week after Oregon.
Yeah.
Purdue's
or when Texas Tech plays Washington State.
Right. Like, I mean, and they're still going to pack the stadium like a Power 5 team. And that's why I said, Justin, I think it's one of those things where even this year, it's still not going to feel so much different because Washington State and Oregon State still have so many, in my opinion, players who are Power 5 talent. It's 3 years from now.
Yeah.
What does it look like, right? 4 years from now. So
that's why I wonder. That's why I asked the question is like, would it be more beneficial? Because again, let's just say you become a group of 5 team, but you make the playoff every 2 or 3 years. Boy, that's relevancy. That's a payday. You can build off of that, as opposed to going to a big conference. And I mean, other than 2000? If we had a 12-team playoff in the last 25 years, the Beavs would have made it once? I think.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
So, I know it sounds harsh to say, and again, I don't mean it mean-spirited, but like, I just wonder if with a new play in an old system, I would be like, this is ridiculous. No, you always want to be in a major conference. But in the new system, there will be a Gonzaga of college basketball, right? More than Boise. And Boise was great. And the Boise run in the mid-2000s is something that I don't know if is ever going to be recaptured. But Boise was not like Gonzaga. Gonzaga's pulling in 5-star recruits. Gonzaga in basketball is pulling in NBA caliber players.
Sending a lot of dudes to the NBA.
Yeah. Boise wasn't doing that. Boise wasn't sending guys to the NFL.
Hey, man, Kellen Moore had his run.
I guess as a coordinator, sure.
He played
as a backup
bit,
quarterback.
I get what you mean.
And I love Kellen Moore. Guy put it on Oregon once. It's tough. But
Kellen Moore's my guy.
But I'm just saying, I think there will be a spot for like a team that will be a perennial playoff team and maybe an upset here or there. And they'll be able to build off of it being a group of 6 team. Hey, I know it's Thursday, but you know what's coming up next week? Monday, then Tuesday, right? Because we are keeping the winning streak alive with Ticket Tuesday, exclusive tickets to the Hillsboro Hops all season long. Listen to Rip City Drive every Tuesday afternoon for your chance to win and get your Hops tickets now at hillsborohops.com. More college football and our countdown to kickoff next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, 51-5-1 days to college football as the Pac-2 had their stripped. It almost seemed like a cocktail party last night. They were in Vegas. The media was invited.
Was open.
The bar was open. Had Steven Jackson, had Ryan Leaf. Who else was there? Joe Thomas was there. I believe he was known as the Throwin' Samoan up at Washington State back in the I think it was back in the 80s.
Heard TJ Hushmanzada was a late scratch.
Hushmanzada was a scratch. Huh? Haushmanzilla.
Not sure why. I just saw on social media.
Is Steven Jackson the best Beaver of all time? Football player?
I mean, I think Terry Baker and his Heisman Trophy has something to say about that.
They might have a little bit to say about that.
But in the modern era, as Mike Parker likes to say, and I always coin Mike for saying it, the modern era. Yes, Steven Jackson from, 2000 on. I mean, you're talking talent. You're talking NFL career.
He was so good.
Set records for the Rams that will never be broken with how running backs are turned over now.
He has to be the biggest recruit ever in Oregon State history, right? Because we've been talking about it with Oregon, the DeCarrion Moore, who just signed with Oregon.
Out of high school, yes.
I think Steven Jackson has to be.
But DJU was. Technically.
Oh, yeah. Well,
so out of high school, Steven, DJU was technically the highest they ever got.
Okay. How do you look at this? Let's do on campus right now. Let's turn the music on. We could do this for another 7 minutes before we forget to turn the music on. So DJU is a fantastic example, and Oregon fans went through this too with Bo Nix, because while technically Bo Nix was not the highest rated player ever to be recruited and go to Oregon because he transferred coming out of high school, Bo Nix was it's not even close in terms of quarterbacks. But I feel like almost like we do with the NBA draft, all right, yeah. DJU, 5-star, huge, but when he came to Oregon State, if you were to maybe re-rank that class, I have a hunch some guys might be ahead of him.
And say what you will. I mean, DJ, the talent was there, but in some ways there was some underwhelming play at the quarterback position too. So I think, like I've told people before, I think it's a cool season and a unique thing. But to say that DJU is even top 3 of Oregon State quarterbacks all time is not it, in my opinion. But he didn't pass Jonathan Smith, Derek Anderson, Terry Baker, maybe even Big Jim Wilson, right? So I mean, it's it's just a different time, right? So it's hard. It's necessarily hard to say.
So we got to talk about this Colorado stuff. I mocked, laughed, and cajoled. I think I said that word right. When I found out that there was any money being bet on Bronny James being the number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft. Remember when he saw the numbers that were popping in from, I think it was BetMGM about, there was, I think, 13% of the bets on the number 1 overall pick were Bronny James to be the number 1 over. And I'm like, people have lost their mind. What's going on? Is this an algorithm thing? Well, it turns out the craziness has not ended, because according to BetMGM, 4.5% of all bets to win the college football national championship are on Colorado. 4-8 Colorado last year, who, again, transfer portal carouseled their way to a roster this year. And by the way, we're getting better and better at this roster evaluation stuff with the transfer portal, just like we were talking about, because recruiting services like Rivals, they're like, your transfers are now being ranked and being rated.
They are.
So your overall ratings are getting more and more accurate. It used to be a little bit of a wrench in the system. It's like, oh, what's their recruiting class look like? But they got a lot of transfers. Well, now we're ranking the transfers as well. And there's an overall roster ranking. And Colorado, by the way, ain't it. Brenden, 4.5% of to win the national championship. is on Colorado. Now, let's compare that to my newest fun toy, which is the Football Power Index. The math has Colorado to win the national championship. Any guess what the number is to win the national championship for Colorado? 0.1%. 0.1%. 0.3% to make the national title game. 6% lower than Oregon State. 6% to make the college football playoff of 12 teams. You had 4%, 4.5% of bettors are flocking to the Colorado Buffaloes. Right now, their odds are plus 12,500. That number has dropped. It was plus 20,000. And because so much money is coming in on Colorado, that number is now dropped to plus 12.5. I mean, you ever wonder how Vegas makes all their money? And how, I don't know, you've been to the MGM fairly recently, right? It's a beautiful hotel.
Oh, it is.
Beautiful. I wonder how they got there. Because people are betting actual money on Colorado to win the 4.5% of all money. I mean, think about the millions and millions of dollars that are bet on the college football playoff coming up. I shall be making my bet coming up next month when I go to a state that allows me to bet on some college football because I play by the rules. 4.5% of all the money from MGM. I thought
Colorado just didn't suddenly get good overnight, Justin.
I thought we pulled back the curtain on the Wizard of Oz.
Like I told you yesterday, maybe with what I see from their offense, maybe in the Big 12 with no defense, they win 6 games.
Yeah, but the Big 12 plays defense now. Baylor plays defense.
I'm just putting out the most positive situation that I feel. I think Colorado wins 6 games, but hey, maybe I'll eat my shoe.
You're right, but they ain't betting on them to win 6 games. They're not betting on them to go to a bowl game. These people are betting on them to go to the college football playoff. Oh, well, maybe you got some money burning a hole in your pocket, like, I don't know, $1,000. How about this? Rip City Radio wants to line your pockets with Grand Slam cash. Listen to Keywords each and every weekday from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. on the 15s for your chance to win $1,000 13 times a day. It's Grand Slam cash from Rip City Radio, sponsored by the Hillsboro Hops. Get all the details at ripcityradio.com. Hour 2 next, 620 Rip City Radio. It is 7 a.m. on a Thursday morning. Justin Myers with you. Team USA takes down Canada. Take that, Maple Leaf. 86-72. Exhibition play in Vegas yesterday. 4 Americans finished with double-digit scoring. Anthony Edwards leads the way with 13. We mentioned in the middle of the show yesterday, Kawhi Leonard will not be participating in the Paris Olympics. He has left Team USA, has been replaced by Derek White of the Boston Celtics. NBA has reached a new media rights deal valued at $76 billion over the next 11 seasons, set to begin after the 2024-2025 season. ESPN, ABC, NBC Prime are the winners, but TNT still has now 5 days to match one of the deals. We have got hour number 2 of Rip City Morning starting right now on 620 Rip City Radio. And welcome back to RCM. Hopefully you are having a fantastic Thursday. We have got Make or Miss coming up in 20 minutes. We have got stuff I saw on the internet coming up in approximately 45 minutes. $76 billion over the next 11 seasons for the NBA. Now, I have said multiple times that even though Roger Goodell gets a bad rap, he's fun to boo, he's easy to make fun of, you cannot deny what he has built in his time as the NFL's commissioner. He is by far the best commissioner in sports currently, and he may very well be the best commissioner of all time. If you think about what a commissioner's job is to move the league and the product forward. You might say David Stern. David Stern also had Michael Jordan. What does the NBA look like without Michael Jordan? Was David Stern still on the right path? The whole Dream Team thing, huge deal. Still factoring into the NBA today because we're going to be talking about Team USA coming up in a bit. But I think when you look at what Roger Goodell has done in the NFL, that has essentially turned it into a behemoth, has turned it into an unstoppable the irresistible force and the immovable object. Well, the NFL is both. To where leagues are cowering, going, please don't compete with us. Please don't compete with us. Please don't hold your draft when we're doing anything. Please don't. Christmas Day, all right, fine. But Roger Goodell's easy to make fun of. He's the principal, right? He's not even the vice principal. He's the principal. I'm sure, Brenden, in your high school, some people made fun of the principal.
Interestingly enough, we had 4 principals in 4 years.
If 4 in 4 years? What's going on in Sherwood? I had one principal the entire time, Mr. Fisher.
My principal my first year was like retiring that year, brought in somebody else. That person unfortunately had some health issues, had to step aside. There was an interim for a year, then the interim got the job. So it was really like we always had a rotating door. And ironically, Justin, and I only know this because my second youngest brother just graduated from Sherwood. That same principal's been there since.
All right, so they found him. They found the right guy.
Established some longevity now, which is kind of clutch.
But Roger Goodell, he's the principal.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Totally.
And, you look back as a kid growing up, like, well, I don't know about you. I fought authority. And, and some snarky comments to the principal. And he like, shut up, Myers. And everybody kind of had, but if you think about like, all right, what Roger Goodell has been able to do in the NFL, like, where has he failed? The Deflategate thing was pretty silly, but in the end, the whole Deflategate thing showed just how powerful the NFL and Roger Goodell is, because it was objectively stupid. I don't like Tom Brady. I'm not a Tom Brady fan. I'm not a hater either. Anybody with half a brain cell realized that I think the NFL screwed up this investigation. Because he didn't give up his phone, so now he's guilty. And even if he did deflate a couple of footballs, like 4-game suspension, which was on par to domestic violence, like they've absolutely fumbled that whole thing. Still went to the Supreme Court. Like, sorry, Tom, you can't play. You're not. You just they're in charge. Sorry about it. But you look at what the NFL also had the benefit of some time, but I think the NFL handled COVID better than any other league.
Do you think that would still happen now? Like if a player did that now and went to Supreme Court again.
Do
you think they'd still side with the NFL or NBA?
I think they would because it's a private business.
Okay.
That being said, after the fact, do you think Roger Goodell would suspend Patrick Mahomes 4 games?
No.
For like an on the field thing.
No.
A guy
I don't
who
think
has
he
been
could.
That's the most mind-boggling thing of all time.
I'm not saying that's right.
And
or
I know
wrong.
they hit it in that Dynasty documentary just a little bit, but I will always shake my head like, well, wait a minute. They were playing a football game in December in Baltimore, and the pounds per square inch air pressure of the football wasn't like actual real scientists were like, yeah, that's going to happen when you take a football from the warm locker room and you bring it out to the cold, the atmospheric. I'm not a scientist, but scientists were saying. I think I don't know if Bill Nye the Science Guy waited. Were you a Bill Nye the Science Guy kid?
All the time, man. Well, us whether it was like
you guys watch it in
watched
school?
Everything, dude. Everything in school. Oh yeah, like it was awesome. When
Did you ever watch it outside of school? Did you like on Saturday mornings? Because
no.
So we had Mr. Wizard. And Mr. Wizard was a G. He was awesome. Like he taught us about baking soda and vinegar to make volcanoes.
I remember watching a lot of Bill Nye and a lot of Mythbusters in elementary, middle school, and man, Justin, when that TV was on the cart and you walked into class, you saw that TV on the cart, man.
It's such a good feeling.
You knew it was a good day, man.
I have explained a couple of times on this show that to me, as a child, one of the greatest feelings in the world is Friday night around 6 o'clock, 5 or 6 o'clock. Your parents let your buddy stay the night, and you walk into a Blockbuster to rent a movie, and you're going to get a Blockbuster and you're going to get a pizza. Like that, the moment of walking into Blockbuster in like middle school, catching a whiff of those plastic, now that's probably toxic fumes, but you catch a whiff of those Blockbuster cases, and that first step in, it's like the world is your oyster. You and your buddy stay in the night, and you're going to rent a movie, maybe rent 2, and we're going to get a pizza. We're going to stay up late. Boy, if you could bottle that feeling up and sell it, you could make a bajillion dollars. Yeah. Same thought process, young Brenden, is the feeling of walking into a class that you dread and seeing that TV on the cart. Oh boy.
The only class.
That feeling of just wait. Guys, we all see this. There's a TV on the cart. Are we watching a movie today? Oh, what a time. What a time to be alive. That's just it. I don't know if kids today ever get that feeling because they all have like their phones and iPads and everything else. But man, walking into a class that you were dreading, and you're like, guys, you see what I see? That's TV. Is that from last time? Is that from a different? Nope. They just brought it in. Oh boy.
Yep. I will.
We are gonna watch a movie. Is the best.
Yeah. It shouldn't surprise anybody, Justin, but there was no, to your point, like of all that, like there was even like when you're in science class, we do Bill Nye with the weather, Mythbusters with the weather. But I'll say this, the one class that I hated the most was math. There was never a Bill Nye for math.
No, never math.
Never math. Math never had a TV, Justin.
Never once got a TV for math.
Yep, math sucks.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here talking to you guys.
Yeah, man.
Like, for those who are good at math, I doffed my cap, and I am jealous. But, yeah, no, it wasn't for me, man. That was the class I dreaded going into more than anything.
Man,
Justin,
math
I can't
was
tell you how many
tough.
times I'd do my math homework on the bus, going to school in the morning, being like, "Oh yeah, I hope that's right, man." Like, math was tough.
Mine was always English, and it was like, I know we're gonna have to do a book report or something today. We're gonna have to write an essay today. This is gonna be the worst. Math wasn't much better either.
As it turned out, and you probably could deduct this from me, writing essays wasn't too bad for your boy. It was just math where they're just like, Brenden, you don't know what an isosceles triangle is? No, still couldn't tell you. I know what a right angle is, but that's about it.
What is an isosceles triangle?
There's acute, isosceles,
Obtuse,
and isosceles.
but there's no obtuse. Is there is an isosceles the right angle where it's 90, 45, 45?
There's 6 types of triangles in geometry: acute, obtuse, right, isosceles, equilateral, and scalene.
Equilateral, I knew that one. That's where they're all the same angle. That's like the perfect triangle. That's like the offense that the Bulls ran in the 90s. That perfect, that perfect equilateral triangle.
I'm sorry, I look at these now as an adult. All these triangles look the darn same, man. I'm just gonna be honest. There's like a degree of difference, and we're like, we have to know this at 14 years old, Justin.
All right, how'd we get off on this? Oh yeah, the NBA.
Yeah, my bad.
I was going to, because I got off on Roger Goodell. But I was going to, because I have been critical of Adam Silver. I think there's some great things that Adam Silver has done. I think there was some necessary things that Adam Silver has done. Curmudgeon-y old white guy. I don't like that it's got so much player empowerment in the NBA. Understood why he had to do it, because David Stern was the Iron Fist with the dress code and everything else, and Adam Silver decided he was going to make it a players' league. And I have been critical of Adam Silver because of player movement, super teams, all that. Maybe I was wrong, because he just pocketed $76 billion for the league.
My question
So, like, is the league more popular than like grumpy old men like me think? Because it felt like the league has kind of been in some sort of a decline in terms of popularity. And some of it is social stuff. Some of it is, I think, which is the load management and the player and the salaries are so high, and that guys they're taking days off. What, like, NFL guys don't take days off. They just made $76 billion. Maybe the league's more popular than I thought. Or maybe they just caught a media rights deal at the absolute perfect time, because nobody's watching network TV anymore. And NBC is like, we got to put something on. Justin watches Chicago Fire. That's it. He's the only guy that's watching it. We got people watch Dateline on Fridays, and was The Voice? Is The Voice still kicking? I think The Voice might still be kicking.
I think it's still on.
But other than that, all anybody's watching is sports. So, all right, let's.
I think all the money in these TV networks, they go, we're just gonna pay for sports no matter what.
It sounds like it. All right, Make or Miss coming up next. Before that, I want to let you know about the Trailblazers and Pup City. That's right, presented by Tava, 1.4-kilometer walk-around Moda Center for Rip City fans and their four-legged friends. That's the dogs. To get together this offseason, check out both dog and human-friendly vendors like Stumptown Coffee, Portland Pet Food, Blue Star Donuts, and so much more. Each ticket purchase receives entry, Pup City swag, a ticket to an early season Blazers game, and a donation to their nonprofit partner, One Tail at a Time. All the details are at ripcityradio.com. Make or Miss next, 620 Rip City Radio. Hey, Rip City Radio keeping Ticket Tuesday winning streak alive with exclusive tickets to the Hillsboro Hops all season long. Listen to Rip City Drive each and every Tuesday afternoon for your chance to win and get your Hops tickets at hillsborohops.com. I was listening to Rip City Drive a little bit yesterday. Chad was on one. First off, I guess the Body 20 people came in and like put him through a workout. He's sounded like he got into a little bit of a pickle in terms of his workout. But yeah, Chad was on one. He went off about slow golfers. He went off about the Starbucks line, which again I agree with. We just were talking about like feelings growing up as a kid that were just the best. Feelings that like enrage me, and I don't know why. It's the people that stand in line at a coffee shop, and then when they get to the counter, they're indecisive, like that. Like, and I support all coffee shops, but like, dude, the menu's up there. What questions do you possibly have? But yeah,
Totally.
listening to the boys last night, running some errands, getting some stuff done. So coming up in about 20 or so minutes, stuff we saw on the it's a very special day apparently on the calendar for certain folks. So we'll talk about stuff we saw on the internet right now. Though, let's get to Make or Miss.
All right, firing up Make or Miss here on a Thursday,
Yeah,
Justin. TNT may have 5 days, but they're out the pool.
Okay, I was thinking about this last night. Now, I am a college football homer. You know this. I know we've been talking about it all day. It's July. We know that TNT recently, they're going to be broadcasting the first round of the college football playoff and a handful of college football games. I know that those weren't cheap, and I know that was one of the things Charles Barkley was talking about, because I imagine he has a little bit more knowledge about how there was some frustration at Turner Sports because TNT and Time Warner decided to spend money on college football, knowing that they weren't going to have the money in their back pocket to match what the NBA is doing. But if you were a TV entity and you had X amount of dollars, would you rather have exclusive rights to college football or to the NBA? Which would you rather have? I know but I am I love college football. Which one do you think brings you more eyeballs? Which one do you think brings you more numbers? Because the only reason the TNT NBA thing is kind of disappointing is not because of TNT's actual broadcast of the games. The games are going to be on NBC, and they're going to be just like you saw them before. It's the fact that inside the NBA, their pregame show is either going somewhere else or is likely no more. We're not talking about the game. Not a game. Allen Iverson. We're talking about the pregame show. And if I'm TNT, I'm probably going like, our pregame show is great, but we can have college football. I'm kind of with them there. But yeah, I don't think they're going to match. I don't think they have the money to match. Plus, all right, Brenden, you follow business far more than I do. And you look at the markets and the numbers. All right. Amazon. Nobody's got more money than them right now, other than Tesla, right? In terms of like American companies, Amazon is.
Yeah,
They bring in more revenue than anybody, right?
Oh yeah, and maybe Walmart. Like Walmart and Amazon are pretty close.
So you got Amazon. So you ain't outbidding them.
No.
NBC is owned by Universal. I know that because I used to work for them.
They got a lot of Comcast money in their coffers.
A lot of Comcast, a lot of digital stuff, more than
smart.
Just cable boxes.
Basically, Justin, since they lost awesome John Tesh, when was that? Like 04? Give or take, 04, 05, somewhere. I'm just guessing.
It might have even been earlier.
But since NBC lost the NBA, they basically circled the wagons and said, we've got cable. And basically up until the last 3 years when the cord cutting has started, just sat on that cable money and said, one day we're going to get a shot back at the NBA. And here you go. Now it's going to come back. And, to what Justin and I've talked about a lot, it's dipped recently. But Justin, for about 20 years, cable owned everything.
Yeah, by the way, NBC Universal last year made $40 billion in revenue.
A lot of people have cable.
A lot of people still have cable.
They do.
But also, I think it's internet. It's,
yes.
Comcast
is huge.
Telecommunication stuff. And
I would be willing to bet that many people have, whether it's, and that includes Peacock. I would be willing to bet that many people have or have had Comcast, Peacock, Comcast Internet, in some way, shape, or form.
Somewhere along the lines, you're spending money at NBC Universal. You might not even know it. But something's coming out of your bank account, whether it is $14 or maybe it's a whole lot more like I pay. But they were $40 billion in revenue last year. All right, so good luck competing with them. And then, of course, you got Disney.
That's the interesting one.
How's Disney doing? Is that Disney Plus thing still working out for them? Felt like it was a big deal. They're buying like Star Wars and they got the Marvel stuff.
Yeah, from what I've heard, Disney is
By the way, speaking of Marvel, made a decision on the plane trip to this afternoon. I'm hopping on a plane. I think I'm gonna watch Deadpool.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna watch Deadpool on the plane.
Okay.
I have it downloaded.
Heck yeah.
I think I'm gonna watch Deadpool.
Okay, I like it, man. Now we're getting somewhere. Now the only thing we need is Justin to.
Because I don't like comic book movies, but everybody's like, no, it's not like that. It's different.
Deadpool's pretty hilarious. Like if you like any kind of crude humor, I think you'll have a good time with it.
I think I'm gonna watch Deadpool on the
Okay.
plane.
Now I said, so you are you who you flying out there?
I'm going Delta out, Alaska back.
Okay, so chance you could see my sister on the way home.
On the way back.
You never know.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'll have to hit her up one of these days.
One day,
Justin's gonna see my great sister in the friendly Alaska skies.
Out of nowhere, you're gonna get a selfie of just like, I'm like, let's send it to Brenden. Yeah.
Oh yes, but no.
But you got Disney, right? You got NBC Universal. You got Amazon. You've said Apple sniffing around like.
Disney's the one to
watch. I know
watch.
Time Warner's still a big. How much?
Because from what I heard recently is that Disney has not, like you said, they spent a boatload of money to get Marvel. They spent a boatload of money to get Star Wars. They've had some originals and movies flop. And I think that from what we've heard, Disney has considered spinning off or selling ESPN. Now, they probably wouldn't be doing that if they lined up a deal here with the NBA. So that means it might be hanging around. But, ESPN is not quite as, I'll put it this way, they're not on the same money power level as Amazon is king in this, Justin. Even NBC, no disrespect, it's cute. NBC made $40 billion in profit.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be willing to bet Amazon's closer to 100 or more. Like Amazon, they run our world, folks. Whether you believe it or not, Amazon is enormous, just like Apple is. So whenever go ahead.
Oh, wait, that's different. That's all right. I've got. Now this might not be correct, but annual revenue for Amazon. Now for context, this is revenue in 2023. In context, what did the NFL just make? We just had it in the update.
14
billion.
Yeah, 14 billion.
14 billion. I just looked up NBC Universal. They were at $39 billion in terms of revenue. Amazon in the last year, $143 billion.
What I said, man. You can't mess with those tech companies, man.
Net income, $10 billion. $10 billion pure profit.
Yeah.
Pure profit.
And that's with something the other day that I ordered.
So good luck competing with that.
Yeah, and just to show how, and this is a small example, but one where I just pinched myself and I said, this is how rich Amazon is. Justin, I bought a couple different T-shirts to wear to the Mariners game that I went to last week off Amazon. And I said, well, I don't know which one I like better on the screen. I'm going to order them both. It's really easy to return Amazon shirts. So I take it through, and I'm like,
you go Whole Foods?
sorry?
Do the Whole Foods?
Oh, we have a Kohl's right by us
Okay.
that does it. But yes, there is a Whole Foods close by too.
I learned that trick.
Right. And so I get in there and I find the one that I like. I go, okay, go through the steps. Amazon goes, yeah, no, you can just keep that shirt and we'll refund you anyway. And I'm like, I'm not alone with
Yeah,
that.
because I'm sure it's got some AI calculator that's like, it's not worth the cardboard.
And that is just, it's mind-boggling. So when Justin throws out those numbers, like, yeah, anytime Amazon, Apple want to just be like, yeah, we'll take over this whole sports thing. Like, if they wanted to, they could. I think we're just kind of seeing them put their foot into it, like Netflix with we've all kind of forgot. Netflix, Justin's going to have NFL games on Christmas.
Uh-huh.
You're going to go on
100%.
Netflix.
You're going on Netflix. They're doing more and more live events. I think didn't WWE just signed with Netflix? So like Monday Night Raw is going to be like on Netflix. Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. Do you think? All right, from
to your point, Netflix. Real quick. Netflix just made $10 billion in profit too. So,
like everybody's got it.
Yep.
They found the perfect number, which is like what's enough to where we make money, but it's like gym memberships, right? What is the perfect number to where people think, meh, if I didn't go to the gym this month, it's okay. It's $17 or whatever it is. Like Netflix found the number.
I'm assuming your gym costs a little bit more than that.
It does, but I go every day.
Yeah, no, I was just curious what the cross.
It's also a small business. It's not a.
I pay.
It's not a corporate thing.
Like $23 for Planet Fitness, and I think sometimes it's a little high.
I pay way more than that.
But that's fair.
So here's my question: in 5 years, will there be more sports on the internet, and by internet I mean streaming, or more sports on broadcast TV? Because right now it's still more on broadcast TV than it is on streaming. Sometimes it's both, right? Like it was on Max, on the Max app, the NBA playoffs were, but it was also on TNT and ESPN. I'm talking about exclusive streaming versus TV. In 5 years, are we going to have more sports on streaming than we actually have on TV? I think we are.
I think so too.
Because I think Amazon, I think Netflix, and I think Apple is gonna get right in that whole deal, and nobody's gonna be able to compete with them because we don't want to drive to stores, and we're not giving up, and we don't want green dots or we don't want green text. Isn't that nuts? Amazon and Apple are going to change the way we watch sports in the foreseeable future, and it's kind of based off of green text and not wanting to drive to Walmart.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely incredible.
Brenden doesn't want to drive to get his Baltimore Orioles shirt to the Dick's Sporting Goods.
In all fairness, I don't know if the Dick's Sporting Goods around here would have.
It's also true. It's like having all of them right there.
Right, like typically your Dick's here is not going to have an Adley Rutschman Orioles. Probably lots of Julio Rodriguez.
Did you go jersey? Did you get the jersey, or did you get the button-up actual jersey?
So it was just a T-shirt with like him on it, and it was like him behind the plate throwing the ball, and it was "Thou shall not steal," which I thought was kind of cool.
That is kind of cool.
So it was like I said, me having that Adley shirt amongst a bunch of Mariner fans is pretty fun. But all that to say, Justin, you're right. These tech companies run our world, and we've known that for a few years now. And like Justin and I talked about yesterday, whether or not it happens, just wait. Like, it was Mark Cuban 25 years ago when he was the trendy tech billionaire who bought the Dallas Mavericks.
Well, and how did he get there? Think about this. How did Mark Cuban get rich? Because I know.
It was a business, but I can't tell you what it was. Was he involved in PayPal?
No. He might have been at later times. I think he was at some point. But so Mark Cuban went to Indiana, right? He's a Hoosier. He started doing business stuff, I believe, in Dallas.
Okay.
He wanted to, this is 90s, he wanted to hear Indiana Hoosiers games. And was like, there's got to be a way that I could get the radio call on the internet. So he created a thing called broadcast.com. Essentially so that he could hear in Dallas, which is, it sounds so ridiculous now. Because you can get any minor league to everything's on the internet. But back in the 90s, if you were not in the market and you were, Brenden, if you got a job, somewhere in Texas or in Arizona or any other Florida, any warm weather place you want to live in, and you wanted to hear Beaver games, you wanted to hear old Mike Parker. Hello, Beaver fans. Spot on, Parker. If you wanted to hear Mike Parker, yeah, good luck. You have to call long distance and have your brother put the phone up to the radio.
No, it's true.
And so instead, Mark Cuban created kind of the same thing, though, where having cable. No, now you just got to have internet. You just got to have internet connection and a subscription. Going to change the way we watch sports. It really is. Going to change the way we watch sports. It's already changed the way we watch TV because nobody watches TV on appointment anymore. Which, if you had told me 15 years ago that's going to be the case, I'm like, you are insane.
Now, I'm not going to lie, Justin. You're 99.95% right. I'll be honest. You said not at 6 o'clock. I'd be lying. I've watched House of Dragon no later than 6:30, probably the last 4 Saturdays.
Yeah, but I bet you watch it on Max.
I do.
Yeah, you don't turn on
because you have anything else.
Yeah, because you don't have HBO. I have HBO.
Physically HBO.
I could grab a remote, turn on HBO in my house, and watch House of Dragons as it is on. I don't.
This is true.
I wait until after dinner, and after I've watched Jeopardy and had a cocktail. Then I'm ready for House of Dragons.
Yeah, I just realized too, Justin. I'm gonna be kind of alone because I don't think I'll have to ask. I don't know if whoever's filling in with me on Monday is into House of Dragon.
I think it's Burkhardt. You guys are going to be nerding out over a college football game anyways. You're not even talking about
this. Is true. But hey, I'm going to see.
I'm glad I'm being an ocean away when you two video game nerds just start deep diving into your college football game, which is coming up tomorrow.
Justin, it's possible.
The game's not coming out tomorrow, but the nerd tsunami that is coming on this show is going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah, it's interesting. My brother and I were explaining it to our mom yesterday. She's like, "What's the big deal with this game?" Right? And we were
and you're like, "Hold on, Rogan, I do this with Justin every day. Let me handle this."
And my brother, who's 18, is like, "Mom, let me tell you this as simple as I can. He did say most every, so included you two. Most every man between the ages of 15 and 45 is going to be."
Right on the edge
consumed by this he did say most. Now that all.
No, I get it. I realize I'm in the minority. I have just never been a big video game guy. I never was.
Yeah, and
I never got into it.
Yeah, and no shame. And it's one.
But
of those,
I understand why people are freaking out about it.
I mean, let me put it this way, Justin. The game comes out Monday night at midnight. You get back Thursday. I'd be willing to bet I may already have a natty for Oregon State by the time you get back.
All right,
we'll see how it goes.
When I get back next week, will Brenden be a national championship virtual
best we can
head
do
coach for the Beavs with their new uniforms and everything?
Yeah, that too.
All right, we got some stuff we saw on the internet coming up. Before we get to that, hey, Rip City Radio, we want to line your pockets. Grand Slam Cash. That's right. Listen to keywords each and every weekday from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. on the 15s for your chance to win $1,000 13 times a day. It's Grand Slam Cash from Rip City Radio, sponsored by the Hillsboro Hops. Get all the details at ripcityradio.com. Stuff we saw on the internet next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, let's wrap up hour number 2. Stuff we saw on the internet. It's a very specific day today. It is July the 11th, a.k.a. 7-Eleven. Very, very big deal in my lifetime because, again, as I've mentioned maybe once or twice, I grew up in Winston, Oregon. Have I mentioned that before on the show, Brenden? Maybe a couple times. And when I was growing up, let me tell you what we had in Winston. We had an Abby's Pizza. Gall darn right we did. We had a Taco Time. We had an A&W. We had a Dairy Queen. And we had a place called the In-N-Out Drive-In. It wasn't a real In-N-Out. They just called it that. It was the 80s. You could just kind of call it whatever you want. They got sued, had to change it. It's Winston Drive-In now. And we had a Mark and Save and a Drive and Save. Those were the two grocery stores in town. Mark and Save and Drive and Save. And after 7 o'clock, if you can imagine this, after 7 o'clock, Brenden, grocery stores were closed. Grocery stores did not stay open. People went home. They shut it down. And so, if, say, you needed something, like maybe we talked about going to Blockbuster and your buddy was staying over and you're like, we want some Cool Ranch Doritos and maybe some Mountain Dews. The grocery store was closed. Oh, but we had a 7-Eleven. Oh, did we have a 7-Eleven? And early 90s, 99-cent Super Slurpees. I had my fair share of it. So today is 7-Eleven Day. We're giving them some free pub. Why? Because we want to talk about free stuff. And you got all the detail. So today's free Slurpee Day? Is this the one where you can bring in whatever cup you want and fill it full of Slurpee?
Just small cup.
Oh, okay.
Small
They
Slurpee
have,
for
but
free.
you know what? There is, I think that's like on the birthday of the Slurpee, where it's like you can bring in whatever cup. And I think they had to like shut it down at like buckets. But like if you had, you know, like a 44-ounce thing, you could come in and fill it full of Slurpee. I've seen that before. But today, so everybody goes to 7-Eleven Day, gets a free Slurpee. Were you ever a big Slurpee fan? I love them. I could not get enough of them.
I did more so when I was in like high school. I'd be like, okay, let's just go like get a Slurpee. Now more so as an adult, it's like, like I feel like I'll drink like a soda, but like there's a lot of sugar in that. You take a Slurpee and times it by about 10, 15 kind of a thing. So a lot of sugar in them. Don't have them very often, but if you put one in front of me, you bet I'd drink it.
So
Like temptation. You know
I
what I mean?
loved Wild Cherry. Wild
That's a
Cherry
great flavor.
was my favorite Slurpee of all the Slurpees.
What made it wild?
I don't know.
Yeah, I always thought that too.
It's a good question.
Like I always thought that too, but wild cherry.
What did make it wild?
It's
Probably
like
because
blue raspberry. Who, like Justin said forever, blue raspberries don't exist in
don't
nature.
exist in nature. I'm sure somebody now. I think there was a disco guy named Wild Cherry. I think that was a thing. I think he sang the "Get Down Tonight" song. Do a little dance. Yeah, I think that was Wild Cherry. I think he also did the "That's the Way." I like it. I believe that was both Wild Cherry. So maybe that's what made the Wild Cherry flavor the actual wild is 70s dance craze. Did you look that up? Was Wild Cherry, was that that's the way I like it?
But there's no real reason why we call the flavor wild cherry. Like,
But it's got to be because of the Wild Cherry
you
guy.
would think like there's no real, there's no knowledge. No, everyone's like, yeah, just called that. But yes, I don't know. I'll probably like now that you mentioned it, I'm like maybe I'll swing through the Sherwood 7-Eleven and grab a little small one on the way home today.
All right, best promotional free thing. We have got Slurpee on 7-Eleven Day. Free steal a base, steal a taco in the World Series. You know, like the first ever stolen base, everybody gets a taco. Let's go back in time. Free chalupa when the Blazers scored 100 points. Like that one, when you actually had to get the coupon as you're walking out. You had to stick around till the end. Free chalupa. I believe the back of an Oregon ticket Two things that I remember. For a long, long time, the back of an Oregon Ducks ticket, you could get a free Western bacon cheeseburger from Carl's Jr. That had barbecue sauce and an onion ring on it. Then it moved to Bloomin' Onions. You would get a free Bloomin' Onion on the back of the. Now I don't know what they don't have tickets anymore, right? Like all my tickets are on my phone now. So, man, what happened to the free Bloomin' Onions? What was on the back of the Beaver tickets? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was the 5-star burger at Carl's Jr.
Okay.
Yep, was always Carl's Jr. And growing up, we never used it because funny story, Justin. Like, long time ago, Dad had a bad experience at Carl's Jr. So it was always like,
So they're out.
Yeah. So as a kid, it was like, oh yeah, Carl's Jr. is terrible. Then as an adult, I tried it. I'm like, well, why was it so?
It was this whole time. What
Yeah,
was
it
he
wasn't
doing?
so
What was he
bad,
talking
but
about?
nope, just Dad had a bad experience, and we made it was like, yeah, we're never going to Carl's Jr. even though it's on the back of the ticket. So, yeah,
That was a thing though.
It
Like
was.
I think I had a family member like bad Jack in the Box one time.
yeah,
And it was just like, nope, Jack in the Box. Like every Jack in the Box
Hey,
shall
Jack in the
now
Box had
suffer
a-
the fate of that one bad one we got that one time.
But Jack in the Box, you probably remember in the late '90s, early 2000s when they had their bad run and were having some health issues. Like,
Did they? I don't know.
Oh yeah, Jack in the Box.
Let me tell you something, Brendan. I did not go to Jack in the Box when I was of sound mind.
Fair
Okay.
enough, fair enough.
Now, luckily, I was not driving. Have a driver. Shout out to Eric Dancer. He loved to hang out, never drank, always drove everybody home. The best friend you could have growing up. But always have to try to convince him to go to Jack in the Box. Because the worst thing is, it's already tough enough when you're driving like 3 or 4 drunks home from the top of the Peacock at 2 a.m. And then to try to get them through the drive-through without an incident happening. But yeah, I don't know if I ever went to Jack in the Box of sound mind.
The one in Corvallis was 24 hours, man. And
That was the one I'm talking about because I
Yeah.
was at Western and I would come down to Corvallis. I would party my face off. We would start at the Headline Cafe, RIP, doesn't exist anymore, and then hit Claude Felter's, and then boom, when the mood struck, oh, we're going to the top of that Peacock. Oh, ho, ho, are we climbing those stairs and are we going to the top of that Peacock? And then at the end of the night, we are hitting Jack in the Box. Then,
You could get those tacos 2 for 99 cents.
dude, yeah. Also back then, you could we would try to finagle and wheel and deal about like, hey, do you have any food you're about to throw out? We'll take it. It hit about 30% of the time. 30% of the time it hit, they're like, yeah, we have a whole bunch of fries. You guys want them? Yes. And then you wake up, half the food's not eaten. Anyways, that being said, dude, the Western bacon cheeseburger from the back of the Oregon football ticket was
Pretty clutch.
pretty clutch. Also, shout out Eugene Emeralds, who sadly are moving away from Eugene. You would get the Bob's Brutus burger. Bob's Burgers in Eugene, if you know, you know. All right. Hour 3 coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. It is 8 a.m. on a Thursday morning. Justin Myers with you. Team USA takes down Canada. That means free maple syrup for a year. I don't think that's how it works, but it was 86-72 in exhibition play in Las Vegas. 4 Americans finished in double-digit scoring. Anthony Edwards led the way for Team USA with 13 points. The NBA has reached a new media rights deal, $76 billion over 11 season that is set to begin after the 2024-2025 season. ESPN, ABC, NBC, and Amazon Prime, all the big winners. TNT still has an outside chance. They have 5 days to match one of the deals. Hour number 3 of the big show starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, coming up in 20 minutes, we're going to continue our fun Robin Hood game. Not Robin Hood, the movie, starring Kevin Costner, the Prince of Thieves. He had an English
Never
accent.
seen it, actually.
Oh, my goodness gracious. It is.
Not it.
It's great. No, I love it.
Oh, okay.
No, I love it. But again, here's what you have to understand about Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, Brenden, is it is of the time. Kevin Costner, who you know as John Dutton, and as you know as Sonny Weaver Jr., we all knew as Crash Davis and as Ray Kinsella, and was in the early 90s the biggest movie star in the world. Think of Ryan Reynolds right now. That was Kevin Costner in the 90s.
Can I add in one more that I grew up? Kevin Costner in The Guardian, man. Senior Chief.
The Guardian.
Ashton Kutcher, man. Coast Guard rescue swimmers.
It's the
man.
Coast Guard movie we never asked for, but
Yeah,
you know
it
what?
was great, man.
We seem to need.
That's probably another one of those like draft day where like very few other than Brenden probably love, but I'd fight for that movie forever, man. I love that movie.
You will die on the hill
I
of
will.
The Guardian
Hey, man.
with
Senior
Ashton
Chief.
Kutcher. The
was a
troubled
peak.
and tormented swimmer who went to Coast Guard school because he had got into a car wreck and had survivor's guilt. And
That was peak Ashton Kutcher's
I will
powers,
tell
too.
you, okay, now I will say this. I am a sucker for any movie where you're like in hardcore training. You know what I mean? Whether it's the Coast Guard, whether it's the Navy SEALs, whether it is Officer and a Gentleman, which is, I think, test pilot training. I think that was what Officer and a Gentleman was. And like any movie where it's like, guess what? We are going to train, and we are going to train hardcore, and I'm going to make some of you quit. And you're going to have somebody with a big, rough, rugged instructor, and you're going to hate me, but I'm going to bring out any movie like that I love. I just do. So that's where I think Guardian fits. It fits.
Is it maybe, it was
Just
never...
something about like going to training and just like, I'm going to make you, even like Remember the Titans, like we're going to Gettysburg College, you're going to hate me, but you're going to be better afterwards. I love it.
No, it's entirely true. And yeah, that's another one. So there's a few of those Kevin Costner movies that I think people would go, really, Brenden? But hey, you like what movies you like, man.
So.
But all that to say, I need to watch Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
But you got to understand,
throw it on the list. Hey, I like KC. So,
I know, but it's hard to explain. That like you're going to watch it and you're going to be like, I don't get it. And I'm like, it's tough to get if you weren't around in 1991. Even though it's not a movie about the 90s, it is very 90s. And he starts trying to do an English accent, and I think like halfway through the movie is just like he realizes, I'm Kevin Bleepin Costner. Robin Hood's going to have a California accent. All right, that being said, we're not talking about that Robin Hood, even though we just did that for the last 5 minutes. The Robin Hood we are talking about, we did this yesterday with some NFL teams, which is Brendan's day trading app that he has on his phone. Did you get it on that GameStop deal?
No, I don't mess around with anything that's volatile. Nah, man. You know me, Justin. I am safe. It is putting money away today that I can retire in my, whatever. Like, yeah, just it's long term for me.
So that being said, all I know is Brenden talks about his buying this, selling this, buying this, selling this. And so we're going to buy and sell some college football teams. That's going to be coming up now in approximately 15 minutes. So very excited to have that. We've got an RCM mailbag. And all right, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm taking the bait. I said I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to let Deion Sanders I'm not going to let him take me there. We went through a season where everybody I thought saw what I saw, which was, again, I keep saying with Bronny, like the emperor's new clothes. Like this guy comes in, says, I'm bringing all my Louis Vuitton. Turns out all his Louis Vuitton was the cheap Louis Vuitton that you buy on the street in New York City, or you go to a certain neighborhood and they go take you into the back and here's the Louis Vuitton. It's like, that ain't Louis Vuitton. But Deion Sanders came in and said, oh, not wasting any time. We're dominating. You guys should all leave. I'm bringing all these players in. 4-8. Now, 4-8 from 1-11 is an appropriate. That's a good hire. If you go from 1-11 to 4-8, that's a good hire as an AD. If, in fact, that coach doesn't go running around all day long telling everybody how special he is and how dumb all of you are, only to sit there and go 1-8 in conference play, including one of my favorite afternoons at Autzen Stadium ever. Oh, that was so much fun. So then Deion Sanders now, and by the way, complained and whined and with these gold darn late night kickoffs and it's got to get out of this conference and this and that. And I thought finally, after seeing him not only lose, but lose to Stanford, who wasn't very good, and lose to Arizona, or no, they beat Arizona State. That was their one win by a field goal. But to see them lose over and over and over again, I thought, all right, people are going to figure out he's selling magic beans, okay? He's selling magic beans. And that finally, 4-8, saying and by the way, how bad is the coaching if Shedeur Sanders, as he says, is going to be the first quarterback taken in the draft, and Travis Hunter, who is a legitimate Heisman Trophy candidate. He might be the best player in college football. He might be. With those two guys, and I know Travis Hunter was hurt, but with those two guys, you get 4-8. And this isn't the NFL. We have seen teams that have only a quarterback, no offensive line. USC last year, crying out loud, had a quarterback that was capable of both winning a Heisman Trophy and going number 1 overall. He gutted USC to 8 wins last year with no offensive line. Yet, Shedeur, 1-9. Or 1-8 in conference play.
So Cal just had to give him that win, didn't they, Justin?
I thought it was Arizona State. I'm pretty sure it was Arizona State because it was by a field goal. And Colorado kicked a game-winning field goal to beat Arizona State, and Shedeur ran over and flashed the Rolex. And it was like, dude, ASU's on probation. They stink. They just fired their coach, Herm Edward, and you just beat them by 3.
I was thinking Colorado the year before when they went 1-8.
That was the one.
Was Colorado or was
Cal?
Yes. Okay. Thank you. My Colorado. They've been so bad for 2 years, Justin. They just kind of blend together, to be perfectly honest. But
So now Deion says he's not being treated fairly. He says Shedeur said, well, we know every game we're everybody's Super Bowl. It's like, no, you're not. You're not. You're people are focused, but the reason why is because everybody wants to shut you up. It is not because you get any kind of clout beating Colorado. What it is it's fun to watch you guys with your big mouths be humbled. That's fun. What Oregon did to Colorado was fun. Oregon got nothing in terms of a bump in the college football playoff rankings by beating a lowly team that would ultimately go 4-8. but that day at Autzen was fun. When your assistant coaches are out there trash talking, and then all of a sudden, mouth. And you got a nice little introduction to big boy football. So beyond that, Deion says he's judged differently than any other coach in the country. And I agree with him. But not because of anything that wasn't preventable. When you come in and you run your mouth and you go 4-8, guess what? People are going to talk. And when you're Deion Sanders and you're used to your entire college and professional playing career of everybody understanding that you were the best. He was the best defensive player when he was in college. He was one of the best players in college football because he returned punts. He went to the NFL. He played Major League Baseball. The guy's an unbelievable athlete, unbelievable marketer. But as a coach, you're 4-8 in big boy football. That's not a shot at the SWAC. That's just the reality, is you're 4-8 in big boy football. And you want to sit and whine and complain that, yeah, I'm just treated. And then, to take it a step further, Deion Sanders now says that the recruiting services are biased against Colorado. He put it out on Twitter. Says, I know a guy. He's told me. Which I made a comparison about Deion Sanders to a certain figure in our world. Last year, it's very interesting that now conspiracy theories are creeping in. Deion Sanders has now resorted to conspiracy theories, Brenden, where he said, but here, these guys are highly rated till they pick Colorado. Then all of a sudden, they get rated down. Their stars get dropped. So, hey, all you players, don't worry about it. If we're recruiting you, you're a 5-star. Because our evaluate, where did this come from? If anything, players were being overrated when Colorado got in the mix, because usually, and Brenden, correct me if I'm wrong, usually you got these former players, former coaches doing the evaluations on these star systems, but usually if all of a sudden Alabama, Georgia, Oregon, Ohio State, when they get in the mix, well, that's when these stars start popping up a little bit, because they go, well, that's a lot of big-name teams. Well, Colorado was in the mix with a lot of players, with Oregon, with Alabama, with Florida State, and Colorado was in the mix with some of these players. If anything, the players are being overrated when they are going to Colorado. I did it. I took the bait. I did it. Fished in. I took the bait. Just when I thought we were going to maybe pull back the curtain and see, like, look, no, this is the Wizard of Oz. It's not a real thing. It's just a guy pulling levers, selling magic beans. We're back at it again. 4 segments on on First Take this morning, all on Colorado. It's also
what happens if they go just terrible again? Like 3-9, 4-8 again.
No, it's gonna be.
I mean, are we finally gonna learn our lesson, or is that just gonna be the way that it is now, Justin?
It will be talked about on this program, I tell you what. All right, coming up next, we play the Robin Hood game, college football style, next at 620 Rip City Radio.